Do you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share with us? Send us an email with your story for a chance of it being featured on Weird World. Dive into another fascinating exploration of parallel universes and altered realities in this collection of 3 true and intriguing tales. Follow Philip down as he experiences a dramatic otherworldly shift in his reality after a near-fatal car accident. Encounter Alex Turner's perplexing situation with his friend's older brother, whose existence contradicts years of his lived experiences, and witness Alexandra Ivanov grappling with a mysterious scar and unexplained changes in her identity. Nothing Like I Remember. On a fateful day in June 2020, Philip Down was involved in a horrific car accident that seemingly transported him into an alternate version of his own universe. On that summer day, Philip and his longtime friend Mike Gibbs had ventured to the local Walmart to gather supplies to build a makeshift fireplace at his home. During the drive home, Mike received a call from his mother asking the pair to briefly stop by her house. Minutes later, she phoned again, telling them that the visit was unnecessary. Shortly after hanging up, a speeding box truck ran a red light and violently T-boned Philip's Toyota Yaris on the driver's side at over 75 miles per hour. The car spun out of control, slamming into a utility pole before careening into a tree on the other side of the road. First responders arriving on the scene were astonished to find Philip and Mike not only alive, but miraculously unharmed, aside from minor cuts and bruises. According to accident investigators, they were both extremely lucky to escape the crash alive, given the Yaris's extensive damage. When the police arrived, the 2 men were blankly sitting on the curb, both understandably in shock. In the hours after the accident, Philip started noticing subtle discrepancies that left him increasingly unsettled. Firstly, was that Mike had zero recollection of his mother calling them prior to the crash, even though Philip distinctly remembered speaking to her. This was not entirely unreasonable though, as trauma is well known to affect memory. What was strange, however, was that Mike's mother too had no recollection of any conversation. Secondly was Philip's girlfriend, who seemed like a different person, with changes in her appearance, personality, and even voice that were uncanny. It was as if she was an identical twin of the woman he loved, appearing at a glance to be the same person, but upon close inspection embodying distinct physical and behavioural differences. Upon returning home, Philip's bedroom furniture seemed to have been rearranged and many of his belongings misplaced. The next morning, neighbours' houses appeared in different colours. Most significantly, however, was that Philip's employer said he had been laid off weeks earlier due to something called Covid-19. Philip had never, up until that point, heard of the pandemic which had been consuming global headlines for the entire year. In the weeks that followed, Philip's sense of derealisation only intensified. Formerly, and always having been dyed blonde, his grandmother inexplicably now had reddish-brown hair. News stories Philip recalled about upcoming NASA missions and moon discoveries were also nowhere to be found. Everything from pop culture to politics to world events had subtly shifted. Philip felt increasingly convinced he had died in the accident and slipped into some parallel world. Over 3 years later, in 2024, Philip continues struggling to adjust to what he believes is an alternate version of the reality he knew. He grapples with persistent feelings of dissociation, forever feeling like an outsider in a world both familiar yet foreign. A specialist suspected that Philip may be suffering from delusional disorder, brought on by the physical and/or mental trauma of the accident. But Philip maintains his vivid memories of a different world are not paranoid manifestations and remains adamant that the accident caused him to cross into a parallel timeline. My best friend's brother. In 2022, a bizarre experience rocked the life of Alex Turner and his friend Landon. Alex had first met his friend Jay when they were both 16 years old in the year 2011. They quickly became very close friends, spending most days hanging out together along with their other friend Landon. Jay's older brother Aaron would occasionally join them, but he and Alex never got along very well. Aaron often became annoyed with Alex's admittedly provocative antics, storming off in a huff and leaving the other three friends to themselves. Over the following decade, Alex, Jay and Landon remained very close despite geographical distances. They kept in regular contact and knew all about the major events happening in each other's lives. Alex had minimal interaction with Aaron over the years, as he seemed to show little interest in keeping in touch. In early 2022, Alex and Jay were catching up over text when Jay mentioned that Aaron was getting married. Alex asked general questions about Aaron's wife-to-be and current life situation, having not spoken to him in many years. It was then that Jay dropped a shocking bombshell. Yeah, they are widening the aisle so his wheelchair can fit through. Alex was stunned. Jay had never mentioned anything about his brother getting into any kind of accident. Alex messaged Jay back, seeking clarity on the situation with Aaron. The two hadn't been in regular contact for about 10 months, so Alex assumed that whatever had happened to Aaron occurred during that period. Jay's response, however, was unexpected and perplexing. "What are you talking about? Aaron has always been in a wheelchair." This reply left Alex bewildered. Thinking that Jay was perhaps joking, Alex replied with a mixture of confusion and seriousness, urging Jay to stop playing around and explain what really happened. The entire situation seemed too strange to be true, and Alex awaited Jay's clarification with a growing sense of unease. The Aaron he remembered from their youth was an athletic, muscular guy who played baseball. What's more, Alex distinctly remembered Aaron giving him a piggyback ride at Jay's 18th birthday party in 2013. When Alex pressed Jay for more details on Aaron's disability, Jay explained matter-of-factly that Aaron had been wheelchair-bound since birth due to muscular dystrophy. He had never taken a single step under his own power. Alex accused Jay of playing a cruel practical joke, but Jay insisted it was the truth, texting a photo of Aaron in his wheelchair, which did not match Alex's memory at all. Aaron had jet black hair and brown eyes, looking nothing like the red-headed, green-eyed Aaron of Alex's recollection. Desperate for confirmation, Alex had Jay take a picture of the framed photo in Jay's parents' living room, the one of himself with his arms around both Jay and Aaron from one of Jay's high school baseball games. Just as Jay said, it showed Aaron sitting in a wheelchair between the two standing friends. Alex texted Landon, who was similarly shocked and convinced that Jay was manipulating the photos. But upon investigation, every photo on Jay's family's Facebook pages showed the same disabled Aaron. Jay was also able to provide some further snaps of baby pictures and childhood shots from around his home. Aaron had always been in a wheelchair. To this day, almost 2 years later, Alex is still shaken by this experience. His memory of a non-disabled Aaron does not align with the evidence, which spans decades. Was this some sort of dual parallel universe crossover of two friends? A vivid mutual confabulation on both Alex and Landon's part? Or an elaborate hoax by Jay for reasons unknown. The truth continues to elude and haunt both Alex and Landon. Inhabiting another me. This perplexing account focuses on 31-year-old Alexandra Ivanov, who began noticing subtle but troubling changes in herself starting in early 2021. The most alarming discovery was a large jagged scar on the lower right side of her face that she had no memory of acquiring. Alexandra first noticed the roughly 2-inch scar while examining her face in the mirror one day. The scar was only slightly lighter than her skin tone, making it difficult to see at first glance. But she could easily feel the ridge it created running down her jawline and into her neck. Alexandra was baffled as to where this scar had come from. She had had no accidents or injuries involving that area of her face. An old faint scar from a childhood car accident still marked her left cheek, but this new scar had seemed to materialise spontaneously. In the months that followed, other peculiar changes emerged. Alexandra's food tastes and preferences abruptly shifted. Long-time favourite foods now tasted unappealing. Her manner of pronouncing certain words also inexplicably changed. Even her speaking voice developed a deeper tone at times, reverting back to normal at other times. She felt perplexed by these unexplained changes in her tastes, speech patterns, and vocal range. Alexandra scoured the internet for explanations about her mystery scar, but found no medical conditions that could account for such spontaneous scarring on the face. She soon discovered accounts from individuals claiming to have slipped between universes, and which many proposed to be the basis for the popularised supposed collective phenomenon of the Mandela effect. Besides permanent shifts in reality, this idea also suggested that people and objects may temporarily switch between universes before slipping back into their original ones. As outlandish as it seemed, she began to wonder if she had converged with a parallel self from another reality. Could this perhaps explain her scar and personality changes? Had she merged with an alternate version of herself and retained some of her characteristics? Alexandra knew it sounded far-fetched, but felt unsettled by the strangeness of her situation. She remained troubled by her unexplained scar, her shifts in speech, voice, and taste preferences. She says simply that she doesn't feel like the same person anymore, but clarifies that she continues to be open in exploring alternative explanations.